Chapter 11. Trial of the Mountain. The sun barely crested over the jagged peaks of the Himalayas as Alex stood at the base of the mountain, his breath visible in the freezing air. The League's stronghold was carved into the cliffs behind him, its shadow looming over the valley below. Before him, the path wound upwards, steep, treacherous, and littered with dangers both natural and man-made. Ra's al Ghul stood at the edge of the stone platform, his emerald gaze sharp and unreadable. Beside him, Talia watched with arms crossed, her smirk barely concealed. Several other assassins stood in the background, silent observers to yet another trial. "You must reach the peak within 3 days, Raz declared. "You will have no food, no supplies. The cold will eat at your bones, the wind will strip your strength, and the mountain itself will test your will to survive." Alex said nothing, merely adjusting the fabric of his cloak. "There will be others on the mountain," Raz continued, his tone growing sharper. "They will hunt you. They will test whether you are truly worthy to stand among us. So that's how it is. Not just a survival test, but a hunt." Talia leaned forward slightly. "Try not to disappoint, Kane." Alex smirked. "Disappointment isn't in my nature." Raz gestured to the path. "Then go. Time is against you." Without hesitation, Alex turned and began his ascent. The first ascent. The first few hours were simple enough. Alex kept a steady pace, navigating the icy terrain with ease. His breath remained controlled, his steps sure, his movements efficient. He had spent years in Smallville's winters, and while the Himalayas were far worse, his Beander physique kept his body functioning without issue. But this was more than a physical challenge, it was a mind game. Raz wanted to see how he handled exhaustion, hunger, and pursuit. The League would be watching, waiting for signs of weakness. So he gave them none. The wind howled through the cliffs, carrying whispers of movement from behind. Alex didn't react outwardly, but he sharpened his senses. Someone was already following him. He kept moving, never looking back. Hours passed, and the sun dipped lower, casting the mountain in an eerie glow. Shadows stretched long across the snow, and the temperature dropped further. That's when the first assassin struck. The first hunter. A blur of motion in the corner of his eye. Alex ducked just as a dagger sliced through the air where his neck had been. His assailant, a masked figure clad in dark robes, moved with trained precision, already following up with a second strike. Alex twisted, his movements fluid, letting the attack miss by mere inches. He countered with a sharp elbow to the assassin's ribs, but his opponent absorbed the impact, retreating a step. No wasted movement. No hesitation. This wasn't some ordinary League recruit, this was a true assassin. Alex exhaled slowly. Raz didn't waste time, did he? The assassin didn't respond. He lunged again, aiming for Alex's heart. Alex sidestepped, sweeping his leg low. The assassin jumped over the attack, twisting midair to bring a dagger down toward Alex's shoulder. A small part of Alex considered ending this quickly. A flicker of Beander power, a moment of supernatural speed, and it would be over. But no. He had to play the part. He twisted, letting the dagger graze his shoulder instead of piercing it. Pain flared, but he ignored it. Using the momentum, he grabbed the assassin's wrist and yanked him forward. One precise strike to the throat. The assassin's body stiffened. He gasped, dropping the dagger as his hands flew to his crushed windpipe. His legs buckled, and he collapsed into the snow, choking on breath that would never come. Alex wiped the blood from his fingers. One down. More to come. The long night. As the sun set, the real challenge began. The mountain grew colder, the winds sharper. The darkness brought unseen dangers, unstable ground, hidden crevices, and more assassins lurking in the shadows. Alex moved carefully, relying on his instincts. Hours passed, and hunger gnawed at him. He could go days without eating thanks to his Beander physiology, but he made sure to show subtle signs of fatigue, shaking fingers, slower movements. The League had eyes everywhere. As he crested a ridge, he spotted a small cave nestled in the mountainside. A temporary refuge. He stepped inside, scanning the space. It was shallow, barely deep enough to shield him from the wind. But it would do. Lowering himself against the wall, he exhaled slowly, closing his eyes. He didn't sleep. Not really. He just waited. And sure enough, they came. The second attack. The moment they entered the cave, Alex moved. He rolled forward as the first blade sliced downward, missing his skull by inches. The second assassin was already lunging, twin daggers aimed at his ribs. Alex spun, catching the assassin's wrist mid-strike. With a sharp twist, he disarmed him, flipping the dagger in his own hand before slamming it into the assassin's throat. The second attacker fell, blood staining the cave floor. The third was smarter. He stayed at the entrance, sword drawn, eyes cautious. "You're good," the assassin admitted. "Better than most." Alex smirked. "That's supposed to be a compliment." The assassin didn't respond. Instead, he lunged. Alex met the attack head-on. Blades clashed, steel singing against steel. The assassin was skilled, precise. But he wasn't used to fighting someone like Alex. A feint. A step to the left. A flick of his wrist. The assassin's sword went flying. Before he could react, Alex grabbed him by the throat, slamming him against the cave wall. The assassin gasped, struggling, but Alex leaned in, voice low. "Tell me," he murmured. "Did Roz send you, or was this your own idea?" The assassin's eyes widened. Then, with his last breath, he smirked. "Guess you'll never know." He bit down, cyanide. Alex stepped back as the body went limp. Well. That answered that. The final climb. By dawn, Alex was moving again. The air was thinner. The wind sharper. His body ached, not from true exhaustion, but from maintaining the illusion of struggle. The peak was close. He could see it now, the final stretch of jagged rock leading to the summit. But he wasn't alone. Roz wouldn't let him finish so easily. Sure enough, as he reached the final ascent, a figure stood waiting. Talia. Dressed in dark robes, her hair tied back, she watched him with an unreadable expression. "Congratulations," she said. "You made it this far." Alex wiped blood from his brow. "You sound surprised." Talia stepped forward, drawing a slender blade. "One last test," she said. "You against me." Alex sighed. Of course. Without warning, she attacked. Fast. Precise. Deadly. But Alex wasn't just any opponent. He dodged, weaving through her strikes, testing her movements. She was skilled, very skilled. But he wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to impress. So he let her land a cut across his arm. A near hit to his ribs. Just enough to make it seem like a real struggle. Then, with one smooth motion, he caught her wrist, twisting her sword away. Talia smirked. "Not bad," she murmured. Alex let go, stepping back. "So, do I pass?" Talia studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled. "You do." She turned, motioning toward the peak. "Come on, Kane," she said. "Welcome to the League." Alex exhaled, following her toward the summit. The test was over. But the real game was only beginning. Dash 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 dash. Okay. I have completed the chapters up to chapter 20. So if you guys want more chapters, give me those power stones. If we reach 70 power stones, then you get another chapter. 1 comments, 0 vote. Chapter 12. Lessons in the Shadows. The League's stronghold in the Himalayas was a fortress carved from the bones of the mountain itself. Cold stone walls stood as silent witnesses to centuries of bloodshed, their jagged surfaces lined with torches that flickered against the darkness. The scent of incense and burning wood masked the iron tang of dried blood, but Alex could still sense it. Death was as much a part of this place as the shadows that clung to its halls. Dressed in simple training robes, his wounds still fresh from the trial of the mountain, Alex followed Talia through the labyrinthine corridors. He maintained a careful balance in his movements, not too strong, not too weak. Every step was measured, his breathing controlled, his posture reflecting exhaustion but not vulnerability. He had already passed the League's first test, proving himself through combat and endurance. But he knew that was just the beginning. If he wanted to earn their trust, he had to be more than just a skilled fighter. He had to become one of them. The philosophy of shadows. The training chamber was massive, its ceiling lost in darkness. Murals of ancient battles adorned the walls, depicting assassins moving unseen, striking from the shadows to topple kings and emperors. The floor was lined with mats where new recruits trained, their forms moving through silent, deadly katas. At the center of the room stood Ra's al Ghul, his emerald eyes sharp as they watched the students. His presence alone demanded obedience. The recruits, including Alex, formed a line before him. The League of Assassins is more than just a collection of warriors, Raz began, his voice echoing through the chamber. We are the unseen force that shapes history. We are the whisper in the dark, the unseen blade that ensures balance in the world. His gaze fell upon Alex, lingering for a moment longer than the others. A warrior fights. A true assassin manipulates, deceives, and eliminates obstacles before they even become threats. A figure stepped forward from the shadows, a man clad in dark robes, his face partially obscured by a hood. His movements were smooth, effortless, like a phantom gliding across the floor. This is Malik, Raz continued. He will teach you what it means to be a true assassin. The art of disguise. The mastery of deception. The ability to walk through a battlefield unseen, and leave only ghosts behind. Alex met Malik's gaze, his expression unreadable. This was exactly what he needed. Mastering deception. The first lesson was not about combat, but control. For hours, Malik drilled them on the fundamentals of deception. An assassin must be more than a killer, Malik instructed as they stood in front of a series of mirrors. You must learn to become someone else entirely. A different walk, a different posture. The way you carry yourself can determine whether you live or die. Alex watched the other recruits struggle, their attempts to alter their stances awkward and unconvincing. For him, however, this was second nature. He had already been shifting identities his entire life. As Alex Kent, he was the younger brother of Superman, the son of the Kents, the ordinary man with a brilliant mind. As Kane, he was a ruthless assassin in training. And as Mr. Villain, he would become a name whispered in the dark, someone the Justice League could neither trust nor destroy. So he adjusted his movements effortlessly, adopting the rigid form of a soldier, the casual swagger of a nobleman, the hunched posture of a beggar. Malik's sharp eyes studied him. You've done this before. Alex offered a small smile. I've always been good at pretending. Malik did not smile back. Then let's see how far that skill goes. A test of shadows. The next lesson was infiltration. Malik led them to a large chamber filled with obstacles, wooden beams, shifting platforms, ropes hanging from the ceiling. At the far end, a single lantern burned dimly, casting just enough light to create deep shadows. The goal is simple, Malik explained. Cross the room without being seen. If you fail, you will start again. One by one, the recruits attempted the trial. Some moved too fast and drew attention. Others hesitated too long, trapped in uncertainty. A few made it across but lacked the grace of a true shadow. When it was Alex's turn, he exhaled slowly and stepped forward. He moved with practiced ease, flowing between shadows like water. He timed his movements perfectly, waiting for the flickering light to create blind spots before advancing. His steps were soundless, his breathing controlled. By the time he reached the end, he was standing behind Malik before the man even realized he had arrived. Malik turned slightly, his expression unreadable. Not bad. Alex offered a smirk. I aim to impress. For the first time, he saw something like amusement flicker in Malik's eyes. Let's see how well you kill. A silent kill. The mission came at night. Roz had summoned Alex personally, leading him to the highest tower of the fortress where the cold winds howled through the open windows. The demon's head stood before him, his hands clasped behind his back, gazing out at the frozen peaks beyond. There is a man in the eastern watchtower, Roz said without preamble. A traitor. He has betrayed the League and must be eliminated. Alex remained silent, waiting. You will do it alone, Roz continued. And you will do it silently. If you are caught, you will not return. It was a test. Not just of his skill, but of his understanding of the League's philosophy. Alex nodded once. Understood. The hunt begins. The night air was sharp against his skin as he moved through the stronghold, using the rooftops to stay unseen. The eastern watchtower loomed ahead, a single torch flickering near the entrance. 2 guards stood at the base, their eyes scanning the darkness. Alex didn't hesitate. A small pebble, flicked from his fingers, clattered against the opposite wall. The distraction worked instantly, both guards turned toward the sound. In that moment, Alex moved. He was a shadow. A flicker of movement that disappeared into the night. Scaling the side of the tower, he reached the top window and slipped inside without a sound. The target lay asleep on a small cot, his breath slow and steady. A man in his late 30s, his features hardened by years of battle. Alex stepped forward, dagger in hand. For a brief moment, the man's eyes fluttered open. Recognition. Fear. Alex didn't hesitate. A quick, clean slash. The warmth of blood spread across the sheets as the man gasped once, then fell still. He cleaned the blade, wiped away any trace of his presence, and slipped back into the night. The price of trust. By the time Alex returned to the stronghold, Roz and Talia were waiting. Talia's sharp eyes studied him, lingering on the faint traces of blood on his sleeve. Quick work. Alex merely shrugged. He was asleep. I didn't see the point in dragging it out. Roz remained silent for a moment before nodding. You learn fast. But skill alone does not make one of the League. Alex met his gaze evenly. Then what does? Roz studied him, as if searching for something deeper beneath the surface. Loyalty. Purpose. And the willingness to embrace the shadows fully. Alex gave a small smile. Then I suppose I have more to learn. Roz smirked slightly. Indeed. As the demon's head turned and walked away, Alex exhaled quietly. He had passed another test. Earned another layer of trust. But this was just the beginning. Because the deeper he went into the League of Assassins, the closer he came to controlling them from within. Give me more power stones. 3 comments 0 vote. Chapter 13, The League's Oath. The peak of the Himalayan stronghold stood shrouded in the cold embrace of dawn. The air was sharp, biting into flesh like a blade, but Alex Kent barely felt it. He had endured worse during the trial of the mountain, where the League of Assassins had forced him to traverse treacherous, frozen terrain without supplies, weapons, or assistance. He had survived, proving his worth. Now, he stood within the heart of the League's hidden sanctuary, surrounded by assassins who watched him in silence. The chamber was carved from the mountain itself, its stone walls adorned with torches that cast flickering shadows across the gathered warriors. Ornate banners, marked with the League's insignia, hung from the towering pillars. At the center of it all sat Ra's al Ghul, his piercing emerald eyes studying Alex with an unreadable expression. The leader of the League reclined upon an ancient throne, his fingers steepled. He had seen many warriors attempt to earn their place among his ranks. Most had failed. Alex, however, had not only survived but had done so with a level of cunning and skill that set him apart. Beside Raz stood Talia al Ghul, her arms crossed, her gaze sharp as a blade. She had been watching him closely since he arrived, testing his limits, analyzing his strengths. Now, she observed with a faint smirk, as if amused by what was about to unfold. Alex remained still, his posture relaxed but not careless. He had spent years pretending to be something he was not. This was no different. The League believed they were inducting a new assassin, another blade in the dark. But in truth, he was here for far more than that. Roz finally broke the silence. "You have proven yourself worthy," he declared, his voice calm yet commanding. "Few survive the trial of the mountain. Even fewer do so without breaking. You are one of those few, Kane." Alex inclined his head slightly, just enough to acknowledge the compliment without appearing overly eager. "I did what was necessary." A flicker of amusement crossed Roz's face. A true assassin understands necessity. Strength alone is not enough. Discipline, willpower, loyalty. These are the true marks of one who serves the League. At his signal, Talia stepped forward, holding a ceremonial dagger. Its curved silver blade gleamed in the torchlight, the intricate engravings on the hilt marking it as an artifact of the League's ancient traditions. "Kneel," Roz commanded. Alex hesitated for the briefest moment, long enough for Talia to notice, but not long enough to arouse suspicion, before lowering himself onto one knee. He kept his movements controlled, measured. Talia extended the dagger toward him. "This blade represents your commitment," she said, her voice smooth. "Your loyalty to the League of Assassins. Once you take this oath, there is no turning back." Alex reached out, his fingers closing around the hilt. The metal was cold against his skin, its weight familiar yet symbolic. He met Roz's gaze. "I swear," he said evenly, "to serve the League of Assassins. To uphold its code. To bring death to those who stand in its way." Roz studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he smiled. "Rise, Kane." Alex stood. "You are now one of us," Roz declared. "Welcome to the League." A murmur spread through the assembled assassins, an acknowledgement of his acceptance. Some regarded him with respect. Others with suspicion. Alex tightened his grip on the dagger. He had taken the first step. Now, the real game began. The training begins. The days that followed were brutal. Even after proving himself, the League did not grant him rest. Each morning began before sunrise, with relentless drills that pushed his body to its limits. Combat training was overseen by the League's most skilled warriors. Alex sparred against multiple opponents at once, forced to adapt to unpredictable attacks. His reflexes were tested, his endurance pushed beyond human limitations. He was careful. Too much skill would draw attention. Too little would invite doubt. So, he allowed himself to improve at a believable pace. He took hits when necessary, stumbled just enough to appear mortal. The League was watching, and he could not afford mistakes, not the wrong kind, at least. Talia, of course, was always watching him closely. "You fight well," she observed one evening after a particularly grueling session. "But your technique lacks refinement." Alex smirked, wiping sweat from his brow. "Or maybe I just don't like fighting fair." Talia raised an eyebrow. "An assassin should never fight fair. We fight to win." "Then I'm already ahead of the lesson." She chuckled. "Perhaps." They circled each other, the tension between them growing. Alex knew she was testing him, pushing for weaknesses, not just in his fighting style, but in his mind. He gave her nothing. The League's first assignment. 1 week into his training, Alex was summoned to Ra's al Ghul's personal chamber. The room was vast, its stone walls lined with ancient scrolls and relics. At its center stood a grand table, maps spread across its surface. Ra stood before it, studying a parchment depicting Gotham City. "You have survived your training," he said without looking up. "Now, it is time for your first mission." Alex stepped closer. "What do you need me to do?" Roz tapped a name written in bold ink, Elias Thorne. "A traitor," Roz said. "A man who once served the League but has since betrayed us." He sells our secrets to the highest bidder. We cannot allow such disloyalty to go unpunished. Alex nodded. You want him dead? More than that, Roz said, finally looking at him. I want you to make an example of him. The world must know that betrayal has consequences. Alex understood immediately. This wasn't just an assassination. It was a message. Where is he? Gotham, Roz said. He hides behind his wealth and his guards, believing himself untouchable. Prove him wrong. Alex tilted his head slightly. When do I leave? Roz smiled faintly. Tonight. Alex gave a slow nod. Consider it done. As he turned to leave, Roz spoke again. And Kane, he said smoothly, do not disappoint me. Alex smirked over his shoulder. Wouldn't dream of it. Gotham City, the hunt begins. Gotham was a world away from the frozen peaks of the Himalayas. The city pulsed with life, neon lights illuminating its streets while shadows stretched long between its towering skyscrapers. Crime thrived in the alleys, whispered deals exchanged in the dead of night. Alex moved unseen through the rooftops, dressed in dark tactical gear, his hood pulled low. The League's robes would only draw attention. He needed to be a ghost, unnoticed and unstoppable. Elias Thorne's penthouse stood at the heart of Gotham's underworld. Guards patrolled the perimeter, their weapons at the ready. They were trained, but predictable. Alex observed their patterns, tracking movements. Too many guards at the entrance. Too many eyes. A frontal assault would be foolish. Instead, he slipped into the shadows, teleporting through a blind spot near the building's ventilation system. A quiet infiltration. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit, the muffled sound of conversation filtering through the walls. Alex moved swiftly. Guards fell before they even realized they were under attack, silent strikes, pressure points, quick takedowns. Within minutes, the path to Thorne's office was clear. The door was locked. Alex placed a hand against it, sensing the mechanism inside. A simple lock. Click. The door swung open. Thorne sat behind his desk, swirling a glass of whiskey, oblivious to the danger. Alex stepped inside. Busy night. Thorne's eyes widened. He reached for a gun. Too slow. Alex was already there, twisting the weapon from his grasp and slamming him against the desk. Wait. Thorne gasped. I can. Alex pressed the dagger to his throat. You sold out the League. Thorne trembled. It was just business. I can fix it. Alex leaned in. Not my problem. Thorne barely had time to scream before the blade silenced him. Blood pooled onto the desk. Alex exhaled slowly, wiping the dagger clean. The League would be satisfied. But he wasn't here to serve them. This was just the beginning. Give me more power stones. Also, for anyone's confusion, no, the League doesn't know MC's true identity. It's a mistake on my part. I am just too lazy to edit this. Cold sweat smile. 6 comments, 0 vote. Pissed. Download the app for additional rewards. More events, more perks. Winning you more free perks. Download now. Cthulhu_Yog Sothoth. Download app now. Chapter 14, Shadows in Gotham. The city never slept. Gotham's skyline was a jagged silhouette against the night, its neon glow barely piercing the thick smog that clung to the streets like a living thing. Below, the underbelly of crime thrived. Dealers, killers, and desperate souls prowled the alleys, lost in a world that never truly changed. And tonight, Alex Kent moved unseen through it all. He stood atop a nearby rooftop, watching the distant penthouse where Elias Thorne had once lived. His blood still stained the expensive mahogany desk inside, a silent warning left behind by the League. Ra's al Ghul would be pleased. But Alex? This was just another step forward. Aftermath of an execution. Returning to the League's stronghold was a seamless operation. He had left Gotham as quietly as he had arrived, slipping onto a private aircraft arranged by the League, flying back to the frozen peaks of the Himalayas under the cover of darkness. By dawn, he stood before Roz once more, the warlord's green eyes sharp as ever. "It is done," Alex reported, his voice calm. Roz studied him for a moment, then gestured toward Talia, who stood at his side, arms crossed. "Tell me, my daughter," Roz mused, "what do you see in him?" Talia's gaze lingered on Alex, assessing him. She had been watching him closely since his arrival, testing his limits, searching for weaknesses. Now, she smirked. "He is efficient," she admitted. "But there is something more. He does not kill as the others do." Roz nodded, intrigued. "Explain." Talia stepped forward, circling Alex. "The others kill because they are told to," she said smoothly. "Because it is their duty, their purpose. But Cain, he kills for a reason. Every action is calculated, every move precise. There is no wasted effort, no hesitation, but also no excess." She stopped beside him, tilting her head slightly. "You didn't make him suffer," she noted. Alex met her gaze, unreadable. "Should I have?" Roz chuckled. "A good question. The League does not seek cruelty, only necessity. You understood this instinctively." He leaned forward slightly, his voice quieter, more curious. "Tell me, Cain. Why do you fight?" The question was a test. Every answer mattered. Alex had long since mastered the art of deception, of weaving truth with lies to create something believable. "I fight to survive," he said simply. "To become stronger." Roz smiled slightly. A wise answer. Talia's expression remained unreadable, but she seemed intrigued nonetheless. "You will continue your training," Roz declared, rising to his feet. "There is still much to learn. And soon, I will have another task for you." Alex inclined his head. "Understood." As he turned to leave, Talia called after him. "You intrigue me, Cain." He glanced over his shoulder, smirking faintly. "I'll take that as a compliment." She chuckled. "You should." Then he was gone, slipping into the shadows once more. The League's secrets. Days passed. Training continued. Alex honed his skills alongside the League's finest, perfecting their techniques, learning their strategies. He fought, adapted, and played the role of the loyal assassin. But beneath it all, he was watching. Learning. The League had secrets, many of them. And if he was going to play his game properly, he needed to uncover them all. One night, he moved unseen through the stronghold's lower levels, slipping past guards and ancient corridors carved into the mountainside. There were rooms not meant for ordinary assassins. Vaults where the League's greatest knowledge was hidden. And Alex had every intention of finding them. Teleporting into the restricted archives was the easy part. Avoiding detection. That required more effort. Inside, rows of ancient scrolls and ledgers lined the walls. Tomes of forgotten knowledge, records of assassinations spanning centuries. He moved quickly, scanning texts, searching for names, for connections. Then he found it. A ledger, older than most, its pages yellowed with age. Inside, an entry stood out. The Lazarus Pits. Alex's eyes narrowed. So that's how Roz survives. The League of Assassins had always been shrouded in myth, its leader rumored to be immortal. But now, Alex had confirmation. The Lazarus Pits were real, mystical pools capable of restoring life, healing even the gravest of wounds. But they came at a cost. Madness. Unpredictability. A corruption of the mind and soul. Roz had used them for centuries, keeping himself alive beyond the reach of time. Alex closed the ledger, thoughts racing. This was valuable information. And it was only the beginning. A new mission. The next morning, Alex was summoned once more. Roz stood before a grand map, marked with locations across the world. His expression was calm, but his eyes held something darker, anticipation. "There is a man," Roz began, "who has drawn my attention. A warrior. Skilled. Dangerous." He tapped a name. "Slade Wilson." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Deathstroke." Roz smirked slightly. You are familiar with him. Alex knew the name well. Slade Wilson, mercenary, assassin, enhanced beyond normal human limits. A man who had fought the best and lived to tell the tale. He is not one to be taken lightly, Alex noted. Indeed, Roz agreed. And that is why I have chosen you. Alex frowned. You want me to kill him? Roz chuckled. No. Not yet. I want you to observe him. Test him, if necessary. See if he is worthy. Of what? Roz smiled. The League. Alex exhaled slowly. Slade Wilson, joining the League. That would be complicated. But it also gave Alex an opportunity. Where is he now? Alex asked. Talia spoke this time. He's currently operating in Bloodhaven. Taking contracts. Making enemies. Alex nodded. I'll find him. Roz gave a satisfied nod. Then go, Kane. And do not fail me. Bloodhaven, the hunt begins. Bloodhaven was Gotham's uglier, meaner cousin. If Gotham was corrupt, Bloodhaven was outright diseased. Crime thrived in the streets, unchecked, unchallenged. Alex moved unseen through the rooftops, tracking his target. Slade Wilson was not an easy man to find. But Alex was patient. He followed whispers, observed movements, pieced together a trail. And soon, he found him. Slade was in a warehouse near the docks, standing over the bodies of men who had tried, and failed, to kill him. Blood stained the floor. Smoke curled from the barrel of his rifle. Alex watched from the shadows, waiting. Slade turned, his single eye scanning the darkness. You gonna stand there all night, he said dryly, or are you actually gonna say something? Alex smirked, stepping into the dim light. Nice work. Slade tilted his head slightly. You with them? Depends who, them, is, Alex said. Slade exhaled, lowering his weapon. Let me guess. League of Assassins. Something like that. Slade chuckled. Yeah, figured they'd come sniffing around eventually. Alex studied him. You don't seem surprised. Not really, Slade admitted. They've tried recruiting me before. Alex smirked. And yet, here you are. Still freelance. Slade shrugged. I like my freedom. Alex nodded slowly. I get that. A pause. Then Slade eyed him carefully. So what's your deal, huh? You just another one of Ra's lapdogs. Alex chuckled. Something like that. Slade smirked. Yeah, somehow I doubt that. Their eyes met. For the first time in a long time, Alex felt something strange. Recognition. Not of a friend. Not of an ally. But of someone who understood the game. And that made Slade dangerous. Very dangerous. Alex smiled. Let's find out, shall we? Because the real game had only just begun. Dash 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 dash. Give me more power stoons. There are going to be some inconsistencies here and there, people. I write this on different places and then cram them together to make it into a chapter. So I don't always fact check if this is correct and if this isn't correct. So understand this, that I am human at the end of the day. I cannot remember everything clearly. 6 comments 0 vote. Chapter 15, The First Villain Rises. The city burned. At least, it felt like it. Gotham's night sky was painted in hues of orange and red as fire consumed an entire warehouse district near the docks. Sirens wailed in the distance, their echoes swallowed by the chaos. The acrid stench of smoke filled the air, mixing with the scent of blood and gunpowder. And at the center of it all, Alex Kent, Kane, stood in the shadows, watching the scene unfold. This wasn't his doing. But it was exactly what he had been waiting for. Bloodhaven, a war begins. A few nights ago, Alex had tracked down Slade Wilson, the infamous Deathstroke. Their encounter had been brief but telling. Slade had no interest in the League's games, nor in following Ra's al Ghul's orders. But Alex. He had other plans. Instead of recruiting Slade, he had planted a seed, a whisper of an idea, a subtle manipulation of circumstances. He had ensured that certain crime lords in Bloodhaven took notice of Deathstroke's presence. That they saw him as a threat. And now, the result was playing out in front of him. A full-blown war. Slade had taken a contract against one of Bloodhaven's ruling crime families, the Maronis. It had been a routine job, something he had done 100 times before. But this time, the Maronis had fought back. They hadn't just sent hitmen. They had hired someone new. Someone dangerous. Enter Firefly. Amidst the flames, a figure moved, a man clad in reinforced black armor, his helmet resembling a grotesque, insect-like visage. A fuel tank was strapped to his back, connected to a modified flamethrower that spewed liquid fire in controlled bursts. Garfield Linz. Firefly. A former pyrotechnic expert turned arsonist, consumed by an obsession with flames. He had worked for Gotham's underworld before, but now, he had been brought into Bloodhaven's chaos. Slade Wilson. Firefly's voice crackled through his helmet's distorted speakers as he advanced through the wreckage. You should have stayed out of this. Slade, crouched behind a pile of burning debris, reloaded his assault rifle with practiced ease. Yeah, well, he muttered, rolling his shoulders, I don't take career advice from walking fire hazards. With a smooth motion, he popped up from cover, firing a controlled burst at Firefly's exposed joints. The bullets struck true, sparks flew as they bounced off the reinforced armor, but Firefly barely flinched. That all you got? Firefly sneered, raising his weapon. A stream of liquid fire surged forward. Slade dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the inferno as flames roared past him. Alex, still hidden in the shadows, watched with intrigue. This was the moment. The first true villain's entrance into his growing game. And he wasn't about to let it go to waste. A calculated intervention. Slade was fast, but Firefly had the advantage. His flamethrower wasn't just a weapon. It was a barrier, controlling space and movement. Slade needed an opening. And Alex decided to give him one. With a subtle flick of his fingers, he used his Beyonder abilities to manipulate probability. A momentary misstep. A flicker of bad luck. Firefly's foot caught on a broken steel beam, just enough to shift his stance, just enough to throw off his aim. It was all Slade needed. In a single, fluid motion, he launched forward, closing the distance with impossible speed. His blade flashed. A brutal, precise strike. The tip of his sword found the seam between Firefly's armor plating, piercing through. A choked grunt escaped Firefly as he staggered back, his flamethrower swinging wildly. A spray of fire ignited another building nearby. Slade pulled back, his single eye narrowing. Stay down, Linz, he warned. Walk away. Firefly panted, clutching his wound. But then, he laughed. A low, crackling chuckle that grew into something manic. You think I care about walking away? Firefly rasped. You don't get it, do you, Wilson? He reached for a trigger on his gauntlet. This city burns with me. Alex tensed. A dead man's switch. Firefly had rigged the entire area. And if he died, everything would go up in flames. A new player in the game. Alex moved. One moment, he was in the shadows. The next, he was right behind Firefly. Before the arsonist could react, Alex's hand shot forward, gripping the wrist that held the trigger. Firefly's body stiffened as an unnatural chill crawled up his arm. What? His voice faltered. Alex leaned in slightly, his voice calm, almost amused. Let's not do anything stupid now, shall we? Firefly struggled, but Alex's grip was unyielding. A subtle exertion of his Beyonder abilities made sure of that. Slade exhaled sharply, lowering his weapon. And you are? Alex smirked. Just a concerned citizen. Slade gave him a look. Yeah, sure. And I'm the president. Alex ignored the remark, keeping his focus on Firefly. You have two choices, Linz, he said smoothly. You can keep playing with fire and see how far it gets you, or you can walk away, live another day, and maybe even win this little game. Firefly's breathing was ragged, but there was something in his eyes, a flicker of hesitation. A spark of possibility. Alex leaned in slightly. Think bigger, he whispered. Right now, you're just another hired gun. But what if you were more? What if your fire was more than just a weapon? What if it was a symbol? Firefly blinked. Alex could feel it. The moment his words took root. A villain wasn't just born from chaos. A true villain needed purpose. And Alex had just given him one. Slowly, he released Firefly's wrist. The arsonist took an unsteady step back, his mind racing. Then, without another word, he activated his jetpack, launching into the sky, disappearing into the smoke-filled horizon. Slade exhaled. Great. Now he's gonna come back worse than before. Alex chuckled. That's the point. Slade frowned. The hell does that mean? Alex met his gaze. It means this city's about to get a whole lot more interesting. And with that, he stepped back into the shadows, leaving Slade standing alone amidst the burning wreckage. Elsewhere, a darker future. Firefly landed on a secluded rooftop, his body still trembling from the encounter. That guy. He wasn't normal. He wasn't just some League assassin. He was something else. And worse. He was right. Firefly clenched his fists, his mind spinning. A symbol. The city burning with him. For the first time in a long time, his flames didn't feel random. They felt like a message. And now, he just needed to deliver it. The League watches. Back in the League's stronghold, Ra's al Ghul sat in contemplation. News had already reached him. The fire. The battle. And Kane's involvement. Talia stood beside him, arms crossed. You didn't order him to intervene. Ra's chuckled. No. But that does not mean I am displeased. She frowned. He's unpredictable. Yes, Ra's agreed, his eyes gleaming. And that makes him valuable. He turned toward the window, gazing out at the vast, snowy peaks beyond. The world is changing, my daughter, he mused. And I suspect, Kane is the one changing it. Talia remained silent, but deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling. Ra's was right. Kane, Alex, was dangerous. But not in the way they had expected. Not just because of his skill. But because he was playing his own game. And no one, not even the League, knew what his next move would be. Now the game truly begins. If you want more chapters, then give me more reviews. For every 5 reviews of 5-star rating I will upload 1 chapter, max 6 chapters today. Also do not repeat review, otherwise it will not count. For anyone wondering, no, I am not going to keep those chapters from you guys, hell no. You are going to get your regular ones regularly. If you just want more, then you drop the reviews. Also, I want to tell you guys that I write these chapters in multiple places and then cram them together, and since I don't have any editor and it needs a long time to edit every mistake I make when writing, so I just tell the AI to fix it, because I can write another chapter if I don't waste them in editing things. Sometimes I don't always fact check if this character can do this or if this character cannot do this, since I write this from my memory and make up things on the spot, so sorry in advance if some things don't add up, and again, I am a newbie author, so there is bound to be some mistake here and there, so bear it with me please. Cthulhu_Yogg-Sothoth creators thoughts. 13 comments, 0 vote. Chapter 16. A web of masks, cold nights and burning. The Himalayan air was razor sharp, cutting through Alex's cloak as he stood on the League of Assassins' stone balcony. He watched the valley below, where the distant glow of civilization flickered against the darkness. Even from here, he could tell that Bloodhaven was in chaos. Fires burned in the streets. Gang wars erupted overnight. And at the center of it all, the chaos he had orchestrated. Alex didn't move, didn't smile, but inwardly, he acknowledged the success of his careful manipulations. Firefly had taken the bait. The Bloodhaven underworld was now at war with itself. And somewhere in the shadows, Deathstroke was taking notice. This was how he worked. He didn't act directly, he nudged, whispered, and let the dominoes fall. The League thought he was proving himself. In reality, he was proving just how easily the world could be reshaped when the right pieces were pushed. The sound of footsteps broke his thoughts. "You've been busy." Talia al Ghul's voice was soft but edged with curiosity. Alex didn't turn, his gaze still fixed on the burning city in the distance. "Haven't I?" She stepped closer, her dark cloak billowing slightly in the wind. "Bloodhaven is unraveling. And you think that serves the League?" He exhaled, the cold air visible from his breath. "Chaos breeds opportunity. And what opportunity are you looking for?" Now he turned, just slightly, enough to meet her sharp gaze. "The same thing you are. A seat at the table." Talia smirked, but there was no amusement in her eyes. "You're ambitious, Kane." "Ambition without control is reckless," Alex countered. "But controlled ambition? That changes the world." She tilted her head, studying him. "And what world are you trying to create?" Alex didn't answer. Instead, he stepped past her, heading toward the stronghold's main chamber. Talia remained standing there, watching his back as he disappeared into the darkness. She had seen dangerous men before. But Alex Kent? He wasn't dangerous because of his strength. He was dangerous because she couldn't tell which mask was real. Gotham, the Bat Watches. Across the world, in a dark cavern beneath Gotham, Bruce Wayne's sharp eyes flickered across the multiple screens displaying live feeds from Bloodhaven. Fires. Shootouts. Rising body counts. This wasn't just random violence. Someone was pulling the strings. "You think this is connected?" Nightwing asked from beside him, arms crossed. Bruce didn't respond immediately. Instead, he switched through the surveillance footage. Small incidents escalating. Key figures vanishing. A city shifting without realizing who was moving the pieces. Finally, he exhaled. "I know it is." Nightwing frowned. "Firefly isn't smart enough to orchestrate something like this." "He isn't," Batman agreed. "But someone is." Bruce's mind raced through possibilities. Ra's al Ghul. The League. No, their methods were more direct. The Court of Owls. Possible, but unlikely. Then who? His jaw tightened. Whoever it was,